Okay, the second part of my final presentation is the video and audio part, which of course is what I'm used to doing, and so but to get a comparison, that's why I did the podcast with this. So what we're going to do is we're going to explain it maybe and see if the students can understand it a little bit better than the podcast. So, as we talked about in the podcast, we're going to find out our opening. And so we're going to go to a cabinet, any cabinet we want to, and we're going to measure between the facing right here and get that measurement. So if we take this measurement right here, it's 12 inches. And if we take the height right here, it is 27 inches. So we have an opening now that is 12 by 27. Now, what we need to do at that point is we need to go ahead and put that down on paper so we can actually figure out the individual components that make up a door. So, as we mentioned, we have a door opening between our facing at 12 by 27. The next thing that we have to do is we have to add 1 inch to each one of these measurements. Remember, this is the width and this is the height. And so if we add 1 inch to 12, we come up with 13, 1 inch to 27, we come up with 28. So our finished door size is going to be 13 by 28. That means it's 13 inches this way by 28 inches high. Now, as we look at a raised panel door, we have the 3 different components. We have our side pieces right here, which are called stiles. We have these horizontal pieces, which are called rails. So just think of it like a train track. And of course, our inner part right here is called the panel. Now, when I make a raised panel door, the width of my stiles and rails is 2.5 inches. But this right here is where the tongue and groove goes. So if you look at this part right here, there's an example of a stile right here. So a stile has a groove in it. Now, if you look at this part right here now, this is a rail. Now, a rail has a tongue in it. So if we look at this now, see how that tongue fits into the groove of that right there? So that's how you make the joint for a raised panel door. And so what we're going to do now is try to figure out the different sizes. So we've actually figured a pretty easy door, but to get the stile length, all we do is take the finished height of the door. So the stile length would be 28 inches. Now, the rail length is a little bit harder to find up. Since my cutter cuts a 3/8 inch deep tongue here, or a 3/8 inch groove here, then this part has to go inside of this part here, 3/8 of an inch, right there. Okay? So what we have to do now is this 2.5 inch stile now, from this side to this side now becomes 2 1/8 of an inch. Okay? So we actually have 2 1/8 on each side. So now to get the length of our rails, we have to take the overall width and subtract 4 1/4. So if we take 12 and subtract 4 1/4, we get 7 3/4 inches. Okay, so we've now figured out how to find the length of our stiles and our rails. Now let's look at our panels. So our panel now, this is inside one, and he fits inside this groove that goes all the way around here. And so the width of our panel, or this measurement this way right here, is going to be our rail length minus 1/16 of an inch. So the panel width would be 7 11/16. Now we got to get the height. Height from here to here. Now realize now that we have our stile that's 28 inches. This comes down here 2 1/8 and 2 1/8. So from here from where the tongue is here, we have 4 1/4 less 28 inches. So 28 inches minus 4 1/4 is 23 3/4. Now, if I made that panel 23 3/4, it would be exactly snug. There would be no give. So I need to subtract another 1/16 of an inch. So that becomes 23 11/16. So that is the size of my panel, that's the length of my rail, and this is the length of my stile. Now, the thing that I did with the spreadsheet is I put this all into a spreadsheet format, so all you need to do is to type in your finished width and height, and it figures out all the lengths of the stile and rails and your panel width and height. And that's what my project was all about, is to teach students that there's a much easier way and time-consuming way than doing it by hand like I used to do for about 30 years until now. So thank you for your time.